Okay.
When I was young and in my prime, I used to do it all the time. But now I'm older and got more sense. I don't work near as much as I used to.
Oh, come on.
I kind of repent. Anyway, when I was small, boy, I was about 4 or 5 years old. I got out and milked the cows. And then when I was about 6 years old, I used to help Mother go down and get the chickens and gather the eggs. My dad didn't like the chicken coop because he always figured there were fleas with the chickens. So he'd gather the eggs when they was in the barn or up in the leaves in the top of the barn. He'd bring them in, but he would never go in that house. But anyway, chicken pen. But anyway, I took my cousin down there, and they'd help me gather the eggs down there. But I'd always take them down when the rooster was down there, so the rooster would take after them and chase them. Anyway, when I went down there one day, I went in and gathered the eggs. I was about 6 years old, and I heard a big noise in the chicken coop. And I went in and opened the door, and the chickens all were running around everywhere and flying everywhere. And looked like some of them was dead, and so I went back up the house, told my dad. My dad got his rifle and went down with me to the chicken coop and opened the door and looked, and we could see the dirt moving in the ground. And so he shot about 3 times into that dirt. And then we got a pitchfork and dug it out, and it was a big badger. He'd take the chickens, and he'd grab them and go and bury them in the dirt. And then he'd go get some more and bury them in the dirt. That's the way they did. So they'd have something to eat later. But anyway, it killed about half our chickens, and that was our livelihood back then. It took away my spending money, because when they laid eggs, had a few extra eggs, I got to walk up to the store to buy me some penny candy. I got some I got some dark secrets that had N things inside them. And
Nigger baby. Call it nigger baby.
and guess what's everything. One day my brother, who was up there to school, he I was just first grade, I guess, and he had some boiled eggs in his lunch. And so him and my cousin, they decided they'd go over and buy him some penny candy. So they went over and bought some penny candy, and his back bragging about it, eating, wouldn't share with any of the rest of us. And all at once, this guy that owned the store, his name was Ben Gom, and he come running over there as fast as he could to get the candy what was left, and took it away from him, because he went in the back room to fry his eggs, and they was boiled. So, but anyway, them was the good days. I helped Mother. I'd take the chickens up, even at that age. I'd take the chickens up, and maybe the grandkids don't think it's too good or anything, but I helped Mother chop the heads off of the chickens, and we'd get. I'd help her with the turkeys too. The turkey would be another story that we had. And I asked the kids, my cousin come down, and I said, they says, what is that? And I says, that's chicken manure. And they said, well, what's that white stuff on there? And I said, oh, that's chicken manure too. And I was up to my cousins, and a whole bunch of us kids during recess, we'd go over to Uncle Rondo's. It was right by the schoolhouse, and they had 3 apple trees over there. We'd go over recess and get apples out of the trees and eat them, and it was kind of a sour apple. But one day Uncle Rondo was cleaning the barn while we was over there, And he told us kids, we went out there, and he says, "Has you kids ever tasted cow manure before?" And we says, "No." And he says, we said, "Yuck, that's terrible. I'll say we haven't." He said, only one time I said a cow switched me in the mouth with their tail with a manure on it once. But he says, "Well, if you haven't ever tasted cow manure, how do you know whether you like it or not, or whether it's any good or not?" And so he got us all to take a taste of cow manure.
Gross.
We probably went back to school with a little cow manure
Some green teeth.
on our teeth. But anyway, we used to walk from our place up to they had what they call Campbell's Ditch. And we'd walk along that ditch up to the stores. That's where we'd go up and spin our eggs. And about halfway up was a tree. And it was just like something like a toadstool. It was all covered in around, and it just had one little hole that you could go in. And it was all hollow inside. And so that's where the cousins and all of us would go out and play. And they'd make us mud pies and dinner and everything. But the most fun was when the cousins would come up, and they was small like us. They'd come up in the summer from Salt Lake and around to visit with us. And I'd always get the biggest kick. I asked them if they'd ever seen the pearl in a cow's teeth. And they'd come out and they'd say no, they hadn't. So you have them come over real close to where he was milking the cow, and you take the teat up there and have them look at it, and then you'd squeeze it just enough to get a little white on the end of it
Right.
to look like a pearl. Then you'd have it right to the side. So, anyway, that was so much fun, but that's what I do.
Okay.